Shall we begin? Let's get started.
Hey, Mom, can I have $20?
I gave you $20 yesterday.
Futures Academy in Victoria is a different kind of school. We use the individually designed educational achievement plan to build a program for your child based on their needs, strengths, and struggles. If your child has had trouble in public school, perhaps developed anxiety or fallen behind in grade levels and achievement, give us a call. Our number is 361-433-0322. You can also check us out on the web at futuresacademyvic.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
I said, wait, I'm not ready. And then we were ready anyway. So do you have the settings right so that it records the sound correctly?
Yeah, I can see you, but no one else will see you.
Oh, yeah. Let's turn that off. Quick. I forgot to turn my camera off. Okay, got it. Oh, we very much have our lives together. Welcome to, we're going to say, hopefully the last episode of Can I Have $20 before we change the name to something else. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Cheyenne.
I'm the mother.
I'm the daughter. I don't love that. It sounds so cheesy, but that's who we are. So,
well, how else are they going to know us apart if they don't actually know us? They can't tell that I'm probably they can't tell that I'm older and stuff just by listening to me.
I'm sure they can tell.
I think I'm offended. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, so we're kind of talking about a heavy topic today.
I would like to handle it a little lightly the way we do because our last couple have been kind of heavy. So not lightly, but not the emotional side, I guess. I kind of want to deal with facts and data. What we're talking about today is domestic violence. And I'll tell you that this is something that has only recently touched my life. And I'm very thankful that it wasn't me personally. That has never been a part of my relationships. And I'm very grateful. And it's not just because I've made wonderful decisions, because I know you don't have to make a bad decision to find yourself in that type of relationship. In fact, we have a friend who is just coming out of a situation where she, truly had to escape a domestically violent, not just, I think we're breaking up and I want to move on. I've also heard about it in teenagers and things like that because of my environment, and I'm not familiar. And so this is something that I want to learn more about. Cheyenne, you are more informed about this than I am. Mm-hmm. And so I thought we would kind of take this one to do sort of a Q&A and me learn from you this round.
Okay. Well, real quick, why don't you give us a definition?
Okay, because I did at least chat GPT that. So I do need my glasses, though. I always forget to put those on. I don't know why. I can't see anything without them.
And I want to say that we're doing the definition here specifically, so the terminology, because I think so many words kind of get, overused and thrown around. And, I'm not trying to, weaponize therapy talk,
Right.
That's not what I'm doing here. I really want this to definitely, like you said, be statistics and facts and things like that.
Okay, so here's what I found on ChatGPT, and I basically just asked for some facts and talking points for this podcast. The first one is the definition. Domestic violence is a pattern of coercive control that can include physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and financial abuse. Interesting. I don't know that I had ever considered financial abuse as domestic violence. And again, I'm very fortunate to have not dealt with this. I'm not a wealthy widow. I didn't get left a fortune or anything, but it would not have been weird for men to come out of the woodwork to check me out to think if that was the case. And that definitely would have been an abusive situation. And I would have never seen it coming.
Well, and the thing about financial abuse, that term specifically, first of all, that one is kind of a newly coined term. And here's the thing, I don't like saying this, but my situation is what someone would call financial abuse if you're being so technical about it, and it's because I don't have access to our bank account. But let me tell you, I want it that way, okay? I want it that way, okay? Just get that out there. But you definitely, yeah, you weren't in that situation. Yeah, dad made all the money, but you had access to everything, you know?
And it's not just not access. It really goes further than that. Years ago, I worked for a man, a wealthy man, whose wife was on like $1,000 a month allowance. And that sounds like a whole lot almost 30 years ago. But that was literally her get the kids to school money, pay for gymnastics money, build your multi-level marketing business that you were working on, all of these things that you want to have done. But she was also very controlled by him. That wasn't the only thing. That
Well,
in and of itself, I don't think is abuse.
Well, and I think that $1,000 was limited. That limited her for a reason, you know.
Right. Well,
Um,
like you said, I want to have controls put on me because I know my habits. Maybe that was her
that
situation.
is
I don't
not what I
know.
said. That is not what I
That,
said.
I'm pretty sure that's what Kate and I both heard.
I don't want the responsibility. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I think Kate and I know the truth there. Anyway,
Right.
um, it's also things like getting money from you, constantly spending the rent money on habits or on your running around or just on your whims. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you go buy put a down payment on a jet ski when we really had a mortgage to pay, and yet you can't let them do anything about it, or they, you know, are powerless and taking all the heat and left holding the bag, that's a form of abuse. You see, I'm having trouble calling that violence.
I was gonna say when you said the term, the person in our life has struggled to call it that,
Well, specifically financial,
and it well not
I'm
just
having
financial
trouble
abuse.
with.
No, oh, to call that like violence. Well, I wouldn't call that violence, but I definitely call that abuse.
But okay, so now that we've covered that, let's move back toward the actual violence part.
Yeah.
Because, like you just said, the people who are in it have a hard time. Do you know why that is? Can you enlighten us on that?
I think for me personally in the past, and probably for the person in our life too, this person doesn't feel like there was a trend on social media a couple years ago that says hashtag he doesn't hit me, but,
Ooh,
and then you finish the sentence. And
yeah.
it's a lot of those. He doesn't hit me, but something awful, which makes, when you say it that way, I think that makes you go, oh, he might as well have hit me. And I'm
Right.
not making a joke, but I mean, it's no better.
Not making light of being hit, but also we don't want to make light of things other than physical violence because you can feel radically oppressed. You can feel like a prisoner in your home. You
Mm-hmm.
can feel as though you're being treated as a criminal and the person never put a hand on you. Is that domestic violence? Not technically. Violence to me is physical and causes bodily harm, but that's
Well,
why we gave you the definition.
technically, yes, based on the definition.
Maybe we kind of disagree on that. But regardless, we do agree that it's wrong.
Well, I'm saying based on what you just read, those
Oh,
things,
yes.
it is domestic violence, you know, those
Okay,
things.
so we're saying the same thing at the same time. Yeah, that based on this, that's why we gave you the definition, is to say that all of this falls under the umbrella. And it's also so that anyone in that situation knows this falls under the umbrella. If you're saying he doesn't hit me, but take off the he doesn't hit me and just make the statement of what he does. Or she,
Mm-hmm.
women are abusive as well. It also says that this isn't just about hitting. This abuse can include manipulation, isolation, threats, control over money or daily activities. When does it become a problem?
You know, I think this one it's just fresh because, like you've said, we have someone that we love who's been through this recently, and it took a while for this person for even me to go, okay, yeah, this is bad enough that you need to get out.
Yeah.
And you too. I mean, there was a point where I told you something and you went, okay, this is done. This needs to be done.
It's over.
And I think it was a point when it started to affect her daily life.
Okay.
Too anxious to do certain things that are normal, like go to the grocery store. And really, before that, it should have been red flags, find help, things like that.
Right.
Uh,
I think because so often this is somebody we love or loved, thought we loved at least, and someone that we're close to, perhaps or have children with, or raising children with, or maybe you're raising their children and worry for them. But it's somebody that you didn't believe would do this, or you excuse it because they really were angry, or I really did push too far, or that thing I said really was too much, or this is kind of relationships I've always been in. It's what I've come to expect. I'm not sure how we get the message across to those people. I think it eventually takes them waking up on their own, right?
yes. That's a hard one for me to say because the thing is, I did have to wake up on my own. But when I've loved someone who has been the victim, I felt like that person is already too deep in it and they can't see clearly. You know what I mean?
That's true, because someone seeing clearly would probably get out the first time.
Yes.
And that I can relate to. I think anybody who's been in multiple relationships can relate to that on some level, when you go, ooh, I don't like this. That's a deal breaker. But that line of where the deal breaker is moves according to how much you're in love and how much you've got vested and how much you can afford to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the tough part too, is the you're yeah, like you said, what is okay and not okay changes, especially when you've been with this person 2 years and this is the first time this has ever really been an issue. And what? I'm going to throw 2 years away for a first time problem?
Right. This isn't a pattern yet. This was really a crazy moment. And I get it. We both lost control, blah, blah, blah. Though that's your first excuse. And I understand that.
You said something a couple of episodes back when we had a similar conversation about this kind of topic. And you had said something like, the first time something happens that makes you go, whoa, what the heck just happened? That's it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this person that we've mentioned a few times, I told them that at that time too. You just out of nowhere were so confused and dumbfounded by what just happened. Mark this down. Take note of this. If you're not going to do anything about it now, take note of it at least.
Right. And I'm not
I think that's
necessarily saying. I'm not necessarily saying you should. I hate when we do this. We do it in person too. I can't even blame the phone.
I know.
Go ahead.
Well, now I don't remember.
I was going to say, I even understand. I'm not saying you've got to run the very first time. Maybe it really was a fluke. I get it. But how much is too much? And maybe if you've been physically hit, once is too much. If you've been made to feel like less than a person, once is too much.
Yes.
I can't tell you what's too much in your relationship. There's obviously some stops that are like, we all agree it's too much.
Yeah.
But like, as far as the other stuff, I don't know how you manage. And when you're done, you're done.
Yeah. And, Caitlin and Chris, I know that their disagreements, they don't yell. They very much are we may be a little petty and kind of side eye for a couple days before we talk about it, but they don't yell. I grew up in a house with parents who loved each other very much, but yelled a lot. And I'll be yelling. So
I'll be yelling too. It was me. Yelling. I know now that it was me.
I'm definitely a yeller. But my husband didn't grow up in a yelling house, so he probably would say, hey, That may be a line that that he thinks is too much,
So my partner actually grew up in a yelling house and said, I'm not going to have that in my house. And he's not a yeller. If we're yelling, things have gone so far off the rails that, the house needs to be on fire.
Yeah.
Because he's not a yeller. That's not what he does when he's angry. I'm a yeller and I want to throw things. I'm not going to throw them at you, but I may slam doors and things like that. However, that's an emotional release for me. And it's kind of hard for him to understand that because he doesn't do it that way.
Yeah.
He's going to go out and hit some baseballs, or he's going to go mess around with the dogs or whatever. Mine is verbal.
Me too. And I just don't know how else to explain it other than yelling does feel better. Throwing something does feel better. I don't know why. It feels wrong, but it feels good. Anyways, all that to say that what is too much for someone is not too much for someone else. But like you said, there are things that we can all agree are not okay. And like you said when the first question you said was, when is it time to get help? And I think that what you said a few episodes back, the first time you're confused going, what just happened? That's it. And you're saying, no, sometimes it's a one-off. I agree. That's why I said, take note of this. This one time, take note of this. Because
and it might be worth it to talk to someone else, because someone outside of your relationship, excuse me, may also look at that and go, whoa, no, that was way off. That was wildly wrong. What do you mean they accused you of cheating? It's the second person you've ever been with. Of course you didn't cheat. Stuff like that where, it really is just so far out of the norm that someone else can see it and you can't. So yeah, if you ever find yourself with that, what the hell just happened feeling, maybe ask somebody else. You need a confidant. And if you're not allowed to have one, it's time to get out.
That's a big one too. Someone who is controlling or abusive will definitely wants to control their image. And if you're doing anything that's not good for that, that's a common one, is the isolation, the I can't believe you told your friends we had that fight, those kind of things.
Well, and that's also controlling, and you're talking a lot about narcissistic behavior, and I'm sure many abusive relationships are involving narcissistic people, whether they're a true narcissist or not. I believe that's a word that's overused today, but to say narcissistic behavior covers an awful lot of ground.
Mm-hmm.
But those people really are trying to control not only their image, but your ability to affect their image. Because I can tell you, I know firsthand, the first thing a narcissist will do when they can't control you anymore is manage your reputation. And they're going to do a really awful job of it.
Yes, and we've seen a lot of that. And honestly, you and I have experienced that in multiple parts of our life. I'm not even just talking about the recent situation, but you and I have dealt with that, the tampering of our own reputations once we've kind of realized that the relationships we were in or friendships we were in were not good.
Yeah. Can I touch on that from my perspective there? Because my relationship with a narcissist was not a romantic relationship.
I was going to say, you're only technically what would, under that definition, your only kind of abusive relationship was a friendship. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And started as a more professional relationship and changed and kind of came to the point of I was doing everything to make the person look good. And as soon as I stopped, the floodgates of wrath opened on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have happened if I'd stayed in that relationship and taken any steps as well, which is what makes it so hard to get out.
I think so too. I mean, if it hadn't been that person that you weren't upholding anymore, if it had been a friend of theirs or, if you had left the profession or whatever, I think that same outcome would have been the case,
Yeah. But I did it kind of publicly, and that was a big no-no. And fortunately, I was in a place where you can't hurt me. But most of us are not, because we have been isolated from friends and family. They make you think that your family and friends are evil and not trustworthy and don't have your best interest. And I know that all of us who haven't been there sit here and think, how do you let somebody do that to you? I'm too smart for that. No, you're not. None of us are beyond being manipulated and things like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
that false sense of security probably keeps us a lot of places we shouldn't be.
Well, and you
Um,
and I have talked about how those people search out
yes.
for those other people, the empathetic and the compassionate and the truly do anything for the people you love kind of people. The
Yeah.
people who are manipulative, they look for those.
Yeah. Of course, because that makes their life easier.
And I was going to mention, you had said that your friendship was originally professional and slowly changed over time. And looking back now, do you see like, I don't know how to explain it other than like you were special.
Yeah. Very much so. And I fortunately educated myself before I got out. I 100% knew what was coming because I knew the person was a narcissist a year before I got out of this relationship, nearly 9 months probably. And I knew what was coming. And I watched because I saw every single person who left them go through the same thing, through the assault, through the attack, and everything else. And so I knew what was coming. And by the time it was coming, I was ready. I was prepared. I had already talked to the people that I knew were going to be important in my transition through this. I literally escaped the best possible way I could. I was very fortunate. But looking back, yeah, I thought it wasn't going to be me. I
Yeah.
thought I was different. I thought that,
No, this is really my best friend.
yeah, and I even remember when it all started falling apart and got ugly. I remember telling your dad, the bad thing is, I still love her. I
Yeah.
don't want to see her hurt through this either. And she didn't feel the same. And unfortunately, that fades. I don't want to see anything bad happen to anybody, but that wish that everything was okay is no longer there. And you do get away from it. You don't feel that love forever. Once you step out and can see things for what they are, you can never unsee it.
I think that I definitely agree with that because you also see that, oh, who I thought I was seeing is not even who you are.
Yes.
You know, that too. Let's talk about some more statistics. We've talked a lot about emotional stuff too, which, sorry,
Okay.
we're just like that. I don't know what to tell y'all.
Yeah. Women. Sorry.
So this is coming from, oh, hang on. Let's find the World Health Organization.
Hmm.
That's a good source, huh?
Oh, yeah, that's reliable. That's going
Okay.
to give you probably all over the world, not just America, but that's
It,
okay.
it, it does, yeah. Okay, so among adolescent girls who have been in a relationship, nearly a quarter, close to 19 million, have experienced physical and or sexual intimate partner violence by the time they turn 20.
What? Give me that number again.
Nearly a quarter of all adolescent women
Wow.
before they're 20 have been in a domestic violence relationship.
By
This actually
20.
says intimate partner violence, and that term also is kind of intriguing or like interesting to me because when I did my own chat GPT search about this, that was one of the things that came up too was um, the types of violence, and that was one of them. And specifically intimate partner violence. Someone that you share a bed with,
Right.
those types of things. Um, which is makes me more sad because before they're 20.
Before they're 20 kind of blows my mind. Does it look different when you're younger? Does it look different in teenagers than it does in adults?
You
I think
know,
it does because typically they don't live together.
yes, and I mean, you didn't know what it looked like, and
No.
because I'm part of that statistic,
Yeah.
um, and I think it
Did you
just,
try to tell me,
I
or did you know?
think at some point I did. I think at one point when we had a bad breakup, and I couldn't believe it was so horrible, and maybe, but no, I was still stuck in it too bad when I was in high school.
You called me on, I don't remember if it was New Year's. It was a holiday, really, really drunk in the middle of the night one night,
Okay.
throwing up and everything else. And you told me that he had fixed you that drink.
Mm.
And I wondered that night, how often does he do that? And I should have asked. And I've kicked myself many times for
You
not
know
asking.
that I mean, it probably wasn't drugged or anything. I probably really did drink too much, and he probably did encourage that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that day was probably a big red flag. But I think it does look different in teenage years because it seems like puppy love, you know? It seems like your first love. You're so young. You've never felt like this before. You're finally allowed to really date, especially,
Yeah.
16 to 20. You're allowed to really have a relationship for the first time, and those first one or two are, before you're 20.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And also your lack of experience. I mean,
Mhm.
if you grew up in a house like mine where nobody ever yelled at anybody there in Mayberry, I didn't know anything different. But if you grew up in a house that was awful, you also don't know any different. So I guess the knowledge you come in with probably has something to do with it. And also, you don't have the life experience to stand up and go, hey, don't do that. Or to walk away and then still have to face them at school or still be in the friend group or whatever that situation may be.
And that's probably a lot of it too. Yeah, your environment, you know. Yeah, because especially when you're a teenager, 16 to 20, that's high school, college. And so the only people that you're dating are people that you are seeing all the time,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think media also has a lot to do with it too.
How so?
That's really just a whole topic for another time. But because what we see and watch sets the standard for what we think is reality.
True. True.
Um, and we know that the over consuming of media has caused younger generations to already blur the lines between reality and not reality or
Right.
or good and bad. Those lines are already blurred in other ways, so I'm not surprised that relationships are part of it too.
Yeah. So when it, as I often say, comes to your doorstep, you don't have a healthy perspective anyway. I looked up a couple of stats too, and I'm going to go over these before we talk about what we're supposed to do. What we're supposed to do about it. That didn't come out right. About what we can do about it.
What
So,
we are going to do about it, we're going to beat up your dumb boyfriend.
or girlfriend, don't be sexist.
I still whoop
Be-
her butt.
because 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience physical violence by an intimate partner. That's a lot. And on one hand, I'm surprised that the number of men is that high, but on the other hand, there's probably a lot of men that take women hitting and taking swings at them and don't do anything about it. So that's a high number too.
And
Um,
when you put those into percentages, I mean, 33% to 25%, that
that's a
number,
lot.
that's not that. I mean, that's not even 10% difference.
Yeah,
You know?
that's very much. We can't say that this is one sided.
Yeah.
A part of this I didn't think of is stalking. 1 in 6 women and 1 in 19 men experience stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 19. I'm not quite sure what constitutes stalking, but I've definitely never been there. I know you have, and on some level anyway, where they were calling your work and everything else. And
Man, and that's another one that we're going to have to do an episode on after Brace for Impact, because I've said before that it's hard for me to call that stalking, you know?
why?
Um, because I was already so close with this person. Before, it was okay if they called me at work.
Okay, but his mother calling you at work and
Oh,
calling other places claiming to be you
yeah.
calling me was definitely stalking.
Okay, I had blocked that stuff out. I forgot about
Yeah.
it.
That one instance may not have been stalking. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, since we're talking about him calling you at work, between 21 and 60, which I realize that's a huge number, I'm sure it's hard to pin down, but between 21 and 60% of victims of intimate partner violence lose their jobs due to the abuse.
Oh, okay. So that's where I was going with. One day I want to do an episode about stalking, because almost I don't remember what the statistic is, but there's a large number of victims who are killed by their stalker, who reported it to family, friends, coworkers, and people did not want to be involved. I mean, people literally said, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want him to know where I live or know anything about me." You know.
That's frustrating.
It is frustrating because if my friend told me she was being stalked, I'm standing at her front door all night
I know.
and I'm
I
bringing
know.
medicine.
Right. And whatever other backups we feel are necessary.
Yeah, because what do you mean? Like,
Yeah. Okay, so letting can we talk about that? So you always say to reach out to your friends and family, use your support group, use your social group, and sometimes they're not there. There are plenty of other no, there's not plenty. If there were plenty, we wouldn't have this problem. There are many other organizations and things out there in Victoria specifically. I don't know what all the Gabriel Project does, but I know that they care for women, including women in crisis pregnancies, women in crisis relationships. That's someone you can reach out to. There's organizations like Hope of South Texas. What's the other
Mid-Coast
one?
Family Services.
Midcoast Family Services. Those are two that are very much specialized in this and very well trained. And you don't have to know what to do. You don't think that you have to have it all planned to get out of this situation. You don't. Someone
No,
else can help you do that.
absolutely. And I went to school for medical billing and coding a year or two ago, and before River was born, I had interviewed for a job in a mental health kind of clinic kind of place, and it was an emergency clinic type of place. And so they even told me, even as a receptionist, you will go through, even as office personnel, you're going to go through training so that you know what to do if someone comes in having a crisis. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, even the receptionist will know what to do if you run in needing help immediately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, those people,
It's
volunteers are truly trained,
Yes, very much so, because that is their passion, and many of them have been through it and come out healthier on the other side and want and are able to help. And they're not judging, and they don't think you're stupid. They don't think you're weak. They don't think you're lying. They don't think you're faking it. Their job is to help you, and they want to do it.
Absolutely. And of course, a lot of volunteers are often students too. So, I mean, keep in mind that these people not only care, but they also know what they're doing,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
too. And also, well, those specific ones, Midcoast Family Services and Hope of South Texas, will be at the Brace for Impact Parent Expo. And we're going to link their information in the show notes for this episode as well.
Yes. You can find them on Facebook and their website and things as well. We have a speaker who will be speaking about domestic violence. If this is something that touches your life or your heart, you will want to check our schedule and when it's posted and plan to attend that. It is Saturday, March 1st at UHV in the North Building. They are helping us put this on. We're very grateful for that. Also, shout out to Key Concepts for making our social posts and keeping us alive on the interwebs. What else
Yes.
have we got?
Let's see. You mentioned the date, the time, where we're going to be at. Some more topics we have coming for you. What we got, Mom?
We do have a few things coming up. I'm trying to schedule an interview right now with someone that we don't have at Brace for Impact, talking about managing sensory issues. That's going to be a really good one. We've talked about, learning disabilities. We were also going to talk, you and I said that we told our own stories of sexual assault, but we really didn't give people the help that we were saying we wanted to give when we started this. So one of those episodes is coming up as well.
Yeah, we just get to yapping sometimes, and
I know. That's why we're us, though.
I know. Okay, so yeah, Brace for Impact, y'all. If you're going to that event, please find it on Facebook and mark going so we can kind of have a little bit of a head count, a couple days before the event. Because this is our first time. We have no idea how many people are coming, but we hope all of our listeners come. If you see the post on Facebook, please share them. Tell everyone you know about the event. Don't forget to like and follow this podcast wherever you listen. Follow on Facebook, Instagram. Don't forget to like and follow Futures Academy. Some of our sponsors, you said Key Concepts. All right.
Yeah, I think we've covered it all today.
Let's give Chris a big shout out to Fresh Media Works. Is that what man, how come we can never remember what it is?
I never remember if it's some of those three words. You know what? I probably have his contact here.
I'm going to get it tattooed on my...
If you like what we've got going on here, we have a really great resource of someone who's all into marketing and websites and SEO and podcast and publication and all that great stuff. Chris Daly is he's our whole support system in this thing, I think.
Yeah. Man, I can't find it. I can't ever remember what it is. I think he's going to kill us for that, though. Let's see. Hang on.
He is laughing right now listening to this.
Is it? Okay, well, when I search fresh.
It is Fresh Media Works.
All right, I'm going to remember like this. The media is fresh. That's how it works. Okay.
No, Fresh Media is how it works.
I know, but that's how I have to. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Bye.
You know what I think? I think Chris owes us $20.
And a name change.
I'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, small business owners, thanks for listening to our podcast. Can we have $20? That will get you a 30-second commercial on our podcast, along with a mention in our post and a link in our show notes. If you're interested, give Cheyenne a call at 361-550-2325. Thanks for listening.